So some pretty harsh topics today, potentially. Looking at the idea of what, automation is going to bring into human existence in the near term. So, on the one hand, it seems that we could be moving from a scarcity society to an abundant society, right? Where historically, up to this point, pretty much we've had a lack, where there's not enough food, there's not enough money, there's not enough such and such. And so there's a sense of lacking. And I think that there will always be, to some degree, probably, at least probably, a degree of lacking. But in many respects, in many of the important survival aspects of our existence, you can move in a bigger way to abundance. And this kind of fits in with Abraham's hierarchy of needs, in that in many respects we have fulfilled the scarcity needs, the food and so forth. We've fulfilled self-esteem and belongingness needs, and the next step in Abraham's hierarchy of needs is self-transcendence, or actually no, that's the step after, if there is a step of self-transcendence, self-actualization, which in other words seems to be, in many respects, one of autonomy and, to some degree, abundance, if other conditions are met. In my theory, I suspect that we're going to be moving back to some more primitive modes at the same time. So I can give maybe I'll do that. I'll give sort of a timeline that connects, in particular, spiral dynamics notions along with Kurzweil's notions and a few others. And the general idea there is that Kurzweil has presented the notion that by 2029, AI will be to human level capacities, such that you have $1,000 computer. It can do, in other words, the hardware work and the software work of a human mind. Not saying he's right, but that's what his predictions are. By 2045-ish, there will be the singularity, which would be essentially the incomprehensible capacities of $1,000 of computing, in that it would be more powerful than all humans combined on this planet. So 7 billion minds would not be able to be equivalent to $1,000 of computing capacity. And these exponential trends are mind-bending and mind-blowing. At the same time, we have something that I suggest is just as important, and this reflects more on the internal landscape, and that is spiral dynamics, so look into it if you haven't. And on that side of things, we have this developmental framework, this framework that suggests that indeed humans' capacities of valuing are complexifying, and then there's broader maps that connect cognition and mathematics and these sorts of things that can be overlaid alongside this. But spiral dynamics particularly looks at value system development, and that seems to be happening alongside Kurzweil's maps at an exponential trend. So value systems 10,000 years ago would come online every 10,000 years. Now they seem to be coming online quicker and quicker, in correlation with our exponentials in technology. This is very similar in many respects to McKinnon's notion of time wave zero, although in many respects I think that he might have been off, at least in some regards, although he might have been dead on in other respects with his time wave zero theory, but that takes a lot of argument to make. I've made it in other videos, so you can look back on it. Rough timeline, and you can remind me in 2045, is that probably between now and the early 2020s, we'll be going through a bit of a lull. You can look into like Cliff High's work for this kind of thing, and it's kind of Cloud Atlas-esque, in the later part of Cloud Atlas, where there's elements of high technology, but it's a little bit fragmented, and we do a lot more gardening and basic livings because of a high level of depression, because we've overlived and overreached and our ecosystem and our environment. So that ecosystem mind will carry us through to 2045, in my opinion, in that people will be living through both radical change in technology through that period of time, but they'll also have a very visceral feeling of lack in certain areas that were just brought on by overreaching in our use of the environmental landscape around us. So beyond that, I think there is this fascinating notion, and this is where it gets a little bit gritty though, is with with abundance and this winter mindset, or with the winter mindset that we have now, right? There is worries, I think, about depopulation, and I think it's a legitimate worry in that winners can see that there won't be need for 7 billion people, at least in the kind of boxy box notions that they seem to have. In my mind, I think indeed 7 billion people thriving is a fascinating, glorious, and beautiful idea. But there's some changes that have to take place to make that so, and that we have to lift people up around us to be thriving, and presently they're not. And so the winners see this and they think that we're parasites on society, but in reality, oh my goodness, I think we could be a glorious species if we can move through this right. So the culling worries, I think, are legitimate worries, and this is something the coral mind, and this is getting back into spiral dynamics a bit, the coral mind has to dig into and work through the sewers, the grit, the kind of drudgeries of this notion, and really help consolidate our future going forward, because if we don't, the other side of this coin is catastrophic. You know, cullings of species, and then the moral weight of the children that come into that civilization after their parents have culled massive amounts of us. You know, it's just a terrifying, terrifying thought. Okay, be well.